Hi, welcome on into Courtside. This is a digital series about QVC entrepreneurs, and today we have one Miss Aimee Kestenberg joining us. Welcome in.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing well. Just happy to have you here on the show and kind of hear a little bit more about your brand and maybe some of the fun things that you're doing right now.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be able to share a little behind the scenes. We don't usually get time to dig deep on our quick sell hits and 6 minutes to show a design. So,
right.
This is awesome to be able to dive a little bit deeper, let everyone know a little bit behind the scenes.
For sure. All right, so we'll just go straight in there because first off, how did you begin? I mean, obviously you had to get into the fashion industry somehow. Take me back to the beginning because you were born in Australia, is that right?
Yes, I was born in Melbourne, Australia, and my grandparents were all immigrants to Australia from different parts of the world, and my parents were very much self-made, and I kind of grew up watching my grandmother sew and make garments for the local community, and my grandfathers were all jewelers that had kind of started out and slowly were able to open their own little jewelry shops. And my father was a self-made businessman and an entrepreneur in his own right.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of grew up around all these kind of DIY doers and do it yourself and make it happen, and from a family of both grandparents and parents that really came from nothing but were able to work really, really hard and build, a beautiful life for myself and my siblings. So I was really always inspired by my family to be able to achieve anything, even though we may have come from somewhere where that wasn't always looking like the case.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's great because you were actually able to see firsthand what it takes to put in the effort, the work, the diligence, and all of the obstacles that you go through in creating a brand or creating a product in general.
Absolutely. I mean, my grandparents were all survivors of World War II. So the only of each of their families, which was crazy to think about. And when I think about that, I'm kind of like, well, they survived World War II, and you can survive whatever it is going to come your way as well. So, there's a lot in starting a brand that, for me, it was very much about creating something that I truly believed in, that I really wanted and needed. And it kind of flourished from there. It wasn't so much of, hey, I woke up and was like, let's start Aimee Kestenberg, this brand. I really had come from, like I mentioned, a family of really hard workers and working hard on being true to yourself and what you want to create and why. When I first started, actually, I applied to multiple design schools and I actually didn't get into most of them. Okay. So I was already beating myself down and upset. The only letter I hadn't received yet was the entrance for Parsons School of Design. Wow. And I assumed I didn't get into all these other design schools, so I assumed there's no way I'm getting into Parsons. That's the hardest one of the lot.
Yes.
So I was already trying to prepare for plan B of life. And then I actually jumped on a flight and decided to try and travel and figure it out and work wherever I was going. And I landed in Israel, and I got a call from my mom within a couple of hours of landing saying, oh my God, you got into Parsons, but you have to be there in 9 days.
Oh.
And that's the way it worked for international students. They were really kind of like last on the list, of knowing if they're getting in or not. So I was luckily, I got in on an international scholarship, and I literally packed my bags. I just landed off of like a 16-hour flight, and I literally packed my bags and flew straight back, and then packed one suitcase. I didn't know anyone in the country. I didn't have any friends. I didn't even have a cell phone, very little money. And I literally just got on a plane and went to New York thinking I was going to live this Carrie Bradshaw Sex and the City lifestyle.
Right.
And I landed, and I was staying in this really gross, tiny little studio apartment in New York City in the financial district, and it was the middle of winter, and nobody wanted to talk to me, and I'm this happy little chappy girl from Australia that wants to talk to everyone and is so excited, and for those of you who have been to New York in wintertime, not a lot of people want to stop on the street to talk to you. So I was confused from day one.
Oh my goodness. Well, but you had been well versed in the traveling before you even got to New York. I mean, wasn't it that you were traveling with your dad and kind of learning more about different cultures and having those opportunities as well?
Absolutely. I was really lucky that my dad was working in various countries across Asia, and he would take me with him and teach me and train me and teach me about, we'd go to Indonesia and he would teach me about poverty, and I would see the poverty of the suffering on the street and just how hard people would work every single day just to get so little. And I was exposed to the reality of the world and different cultures at such a young age that it made me very worldly, in the sense that I was able to both adapt and also really be empathetic towards different cultures and needs, and grateful for, the different blessings that came my way, because, I'm a believer that, yes, you need to work very, very hard to achieve what you want to achieve. But at the same time, there is a degree of blessings and faith that goes into that definitely helps people achieve certain things, in the way I feel about it anyway.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, there is this sense of faith that you have to have, especially as an entrepreneur, but really anyone at any stage in life. You really have to say, can I do this? What has prepared me to do this? And actually reflect back and see some of the circumstances that you were put in to evolve and grow and be the person that you are at that moment. And so I think it says a lot about you that you had those experiences before you even got to New York. So you get to Parsons, and tell me a little bit about how you got into designing and how then all of a sudden handbags kind of ventured in.
So in Australia, when I graduated, I went to a school called the Royal Melbourne Institute for Technology, where I went to study a course called Industrial Design. And that was really focused on learning the building blocks of how to design just about anything. So not fashion related. I was designing things from braille machines so that blind students could read through touch, to Ducati motorbikes for 3D models, and literally knives and forks, tables, like anything you could think of is what we were designing, because we were really learning to design more from the engineering side, less for the aesthetic side. Okay. So we were trained on the back end, like how does it work? It's really focused on problem solving. So it's kind of looking at a product and how can we make it better? Or looking at a problem in the world and thinking, how can we design something to solve that problem? So that was really my background. So when I got into Parsons, and I ended up being on the fashion side in this course called Integrated Design. I really focused on accessory design and fashion. But because I had already had this very deep understanding of engineering and ergonomics, I found this kind of interesting way to pair the two worlds to launch Aimee Kestenberg, which was essentially a really cool handbag brand that was focused just as much about the functionality and the intent behind the way these pieces worked, just as much as they were beautiful and cool and fashionable and had all those luxurious elements as well.
Wow. So you really did go from the basics to then obviously a luxury designer aesthetic. I mean, that's, I think, the entire playing field that you kind of crossed through.
In design, it really is. And that's kind of what I believe makes the brand and the products special, is that I really design them with empowerment in mind. So when I'm creating pieces, I am analyzing them as if I am making sure that they're going to make women feel good, they're going to fit right, they're going to be the right weight, they're going to have the pockets in the right places where we need to put our things, but then they're going to look great, make you feel strong, make you feel confident, because I believe that when you get up out of bed and you look in the mirror every day, and I am just as guilty of this, every day I believe that you need to look in the mirror and not leave your house until you feel good, until you look in the mirror and be like, I feel good about how I look today. And trust me, I have had my fair share of not doing that, but you know what? I always try and find a place to snap back into it and refresh myself and be like, you know what? You will feel great today and you will achieve great things today. If you feel good about how you leave this house today or how you walk around the house in current day.
Exactly. But the thing here I have to just point out is did you know before, when you were doing kind of the industrial engineering design, that you wanted to get into more of the fashion design, or was it kind of where you started and then you realized you wanted to get there?
I actually applied for fashion design at the same school and didn't get in. That was my first pick. So I had gotten into and ironically, the engineering program was harder to get into. So it was really odd. And I had this weird kind of trajectory of things happening where I would never get my first pick, but I'd get, the second pick that was usually the harder one. Wow. So it was very weird, but I believe everything happens for a reason, and God leads us down the path we're supposed to be. So, and it's really just about the decisions we make along the way. Mm-hmm. But so I didn't get into fashion, so I went into industrial design and the engineering side. But then I was watching Project Runway in Australia, which was filmed at Parsons, the New School of Design, and that's where I became inspired again to retry and get into the fashion industry. And New York for me at that time was like this long lost faraway land that I would never reach. So when I actually got in and I got there, I was just like, it never felt real. It took about 8 years for me to actually feel like my life in New York was real.
But I mean, you just sound like someone who had the right place at the right time and the opportunity, and you said, I'm going to take it. I mean, it really does. And so I feel like, as somebody from your background, I mean, just from hearing the history, what would you tell someone who is wondering, okay, should I take this opportunity that's before me? How do you overcome fear and doubt and maybe even self-doubt and say, you know what, I need to shove all that aside, I need to move forward? How do you kind of bring that about for yourself?
So a couple of answers to that. Firstly, during my time as a designer and kind of on my career path to launching my brand and it growing, I had my first son, Max. And after I had him, I had this real internal struggle where I could not figure out how to continue being that workhorse entrepreneur that I was and run my brand at the same time as being a full-time new mother to my newborn who really needed me. Mm-hmm. And I internally struggled so much with this to a point where I got really, really sick. And I was lucky to have been able to dig myself out of this hole. It took me about a year, but I was lucky to have been able to do it because postpartum depletion is a very, very real issue for a lot of new mothers. Always has been, but thank God it's now more in the public light and people are learning more about it and how to heal from it. But during that time, I needed to find a way to find myself again because I felt very, very lost and unwell. So I actually went back to school while I was running my company, and I went back to school for a course called the school's called the Integrated Institute for Nutrition. Oh. And I went back to learn about mental wellness for mind, body, and soul. Wow. And with doing that, it was a 9-month course, and I did it mornings on my way to the office, nights on my way back from the office, which was a 45-minute each way, and then 3 hours Saturdays, 3 hours Sundays to be able to get through the course curriculum. And it really helped me dig deep and have clarity in what I wanted to achieve, and also with what made me happy. And to go back to your question, Courtney, I think what's really important that I've learned is that it's very easy to get distracted by all the noise around us, yes. Whether it's, TV marketing or shows that make us, feel like we should look a certain way or speak a certain way or do a certain thing. And there's a lot of bullying and judgment and all these things. There's a lot of noise. And at the end of the day, I feel like if you are not your own cheerleader first and foremost, it's very hard to succeed and have clarity in anything. It's okay to say no. It's okay to not let people into your life that you don't feel really bring you up and really ignite that sparkle within you, because we're all perfect the way we are, and we all have the tools within us that we need to grow and thrive and be the best versions of ourselves in every way. It's all already there. It's just a matter of surrounding yourself with the people that allow you to shine and don't try and put out that fire. And also, you know, treating your body right, exercising, eating well. You know, you need to be your biggest cheerleader so that you have clarity and feel great and are able to make those decisions, because your truth and the decisions you make, it's already within you. You really already have the answers. And that's something that I learned being by myself for a very, very long time in New York and having to make all these decisions and answers. And I made a few wrong ones that I took big hits from. And luckily I was able to come out of them. But that's how you learn. You know, you learn from the mistakes and you learn from the failures. And I don't really believe failures really ever exist, because I think that if you don't have those, I like to refer to them as lessons, because if you don't have them, you don't learn from them. And then you can't get stronger and smarter and wiser and propel forward in whatever it is that you want to do.
Well, so that just brought up one of the quotes that I actually read from you, which I saw on your website. It says, "I pour my soul into every piece and truly believe that they can arm women with whatever they need to win their day." And when I read that, I was like, no, she's not just designing. Like, you're really helping us build ourselves. And hearing your experiences and then hearing that you took all these extra courses and put in this time to understand like yourself and your mind, I think then you're able to relate to so many other women. So tell me why supporting and relating to women is such a part of your brand and your mission.
So I think that today, where women are so torn in many directions, and you know, there's a lot of expectations, there's a lot of mixed messages, there's the idea of work and career and being a mother, and can you be both, and should you just be one, and it's, you know, looking a certain way. I mean, there's so many kind of cultural pressures, I feel like, that's put on women today, and it's tough sometimes to just kind of dial that back and be like, no, I'm going to be me, however that works for me. And I don't feel that where we're at today as a culture and as a country that women have the support they need yet in order to be fully confident in certain decisions, like in the workplace and different issues that we're now seeing today. But, you know, that being said, my mother was someone who was very young when she was pregnant with me and went to her boss excited, and he fired her on the spot. So, you know, she was, in those days, there wasn't any, you know, legal support or protection against those type of things. So, you know, here she was as a young new mom, first time mom, and all excited about the fact that she would be having a little girl, and you know, she got fired for it, for being honest about being honest about it. So I think women today, especially in, you know, also executive roles, like, you know, like myself, have always struggled with the idea of, well, is it okay for me to take this time for my body to heal? And this doesn't just tie into mothers. This also ties into, you know, the issue of if people are sick. Like if you're sick, take care of yourself. Like, you shouldn't have to be thinking about, like, oh my gosh, what if I miss this report? You know, like, no, heal your body, heal your mind. I don't think a lot of companies today support that, which is really challenging. You know, but it's slowly changing. The world's slowly changing in the right direction. But I think people have to learn, and especially women have to learn how to, whatever situation it is, and it's easier said than done, that they have to prioritize their own health and well-being because it just has to be at any cost, because you can't be okay as a human being without being physically, mentally, and spiritually well.
No, and those are the foundations and the building blocks. And I think sometimes we, as women, we're very eager, maybe ambitious, and sometimes we want to play in a bunch of different areas. Sure. And that's no fault to anyone, but you do have to take care of yourself before you can run. There's that this great quote. It's something like, don't run faster than you can. And it's just like, yeah, don't speed up when you need to take a walk. There's nothing wrong with that. So I appreciate you sharing that and sharing more about kind of your role and how Aimee Kestenberg as a brand now can take on this social responsibility. Because as an entrepreneur, you're globally recognized. Your brand is all over. We also have it at QVC, of course. You can shop the brand there. And the breadth of your collection is just getting wider and wider. But tell me a little bit about what it means as a brand and a mission for you to share that with other people through your products. I mean, specifically through what you've created.
Well, I feel like God gave me the gift of strength. Mm-hmm. I feel like I feel like most of us have someone in our family that is that rock for the rest of us. And in my family, I think they'll agree that that's probably me. I'm always the one that takes the hits. So, I think that being that way has really made me want to share that with everyone around me, through my art. So I've always loved to create. I've been creating since I was a little girl. Even as far back as I remember, I would sit on the floor with my grandma, who could barely speak English at the time in Australia, and she would sew garments, and I wasn't allowed to talk while she watched Oprah. And I would sit on the floor, and she gave me nail polish to paint shoes, and I would use old nail polish from the op shop to paint different patterns on shoes. And then she taught me to knit, and we would knit together, and then I would make my own hats and gloves, and then I would start beading and make my own jewelry. So I've always been an artist in some sense of the word. And now being in adult world of design, I love to be able to create pieces that when women wear, they feel strong and confident, and they feel like everything I embody and bring when I kind of tap into my strength is coming through with the energy of everything I create. So when I look at women walking down the street and I see them wearing one of my bags, there's nothing that makes me happier than seeing someone walk confidently, whether it's through their walk or their attitude or just their joy or whatever it is. When I see them wearing one of my pieces and I see them walking with that confidence, that kind of armor, that just knowing that they have one of my pieces that's been designed to remind them that they got this. Yeah. And whatever's in that bag, which is usually your most important belongings, right. Phone, keys, wallet, the kind of things that we'd probably lose our minds without. I like embodying that energy into every single thing I create. Mm-hmm. So, this is actually, I'm going to show you, this is actually one of my rings that just launched at QVC. Ah. And it's available on QVC.com. It's also at AimeeKestenberg.com. But it's my black onyx evil eye ring. And, even as we've just recently extended into jewelry, the pieces, it's a vintage inspired ring. And then it's made from black onyx, which is a strength stone, an energetic protection stone. And then the eye itself ties into the idea of evil eye, which is all about kind of protective energy and having this kind of, in different cultures, it means different things, but right. Ultimately it's all about kind of self-protection and self-love.
Oh, well, that's exciting that jewelry collection is on QVC. So the breadth of your collection right now, you went from handbags, you're in jewelry. We've even had the cute little cell phone packs, the passports. Yep. Tell me all the pieces and categories that you're in.
So today we're also in luggage, baby apparel. When I launched my first son, we launched baby apparel. We did do baby bags. We've sold out, but we'll be back soon. We have, wallets and cosmetic we have very cool cosmetic cases. Handbags, obviously. We launched footwear at QVC, which sold out the first time we brought it there. So we haven't brought it back yet because I haven't had time to get there and start designing some more, but we will soon. And yeah, we're launching a few other categories very soon as well, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, well, so what are you looking forward to? Is there anything else as far as like you're preparing for or you're just excited about, maybe a sneak peek or something that's coming that you want to share?
Sure. I mean, there's something we actually launched today, which I'm very excited about, and
Okay.
it's called the Unity Pin. It's actually a pin. So we were talking with, various frontline workers with the current COVID-19 situation about how we could support them. And we actually came up with a design for this little pin that you can pin on anything you own, clothes, bags, and a lot of the frontline workers are pinning it on their badges in the hospitals and, on whatever they're doing in cafes or wherever else. And so we've just launched it at aimeekestenberg.com. It's called the Unity Pin, and it's a little pin that says "Together We Thrive." And 100% of the proceeds of the profits from this pin is actually going towards Disaster Relief, which is an organization that provides PPE for all our frontline workers. So we're super excited about that. We love to be able to give back in different ways. We've always been a big supporter of different charities.
You have, yeah.
We don't talk a lot about it because, honestly, we're too busy putting it together to be able to get it to them.
Yeah.
But we're always involved in different philanthropic efforts, and the most recent initiative is called AK Gives Back, which is where we're going to be donating to different charities depending on whatever's most at need at that time through different designs and pieces that we create. So we're super excited about our Unity Pin. You can go check it out at aimeekestenberg.com, which has now been released. And 100% of the profits go towards those in need. So we're really excited about that one.
I appreciate, and I'm sure so many others as well, that you actually look past just doing your line. I mean, you created your brand, you put a lot of hard work into that, but then also you just take it a step further and you really do access that social responsibility. And it speaks volumes for you as a person and as a brand, but also as an entrepreneur and the one who started the brand. So do you remember your first bag or your first design that you ever created for the Aimee Kestenberg brand?
I do. It was actually the Tamitha backpack, which is to date still my best-selling bag.
Is it? Oh!
And you need one. You will rock it. You will love that bag if you don't already have one. But especially for the Olympics. Let's talk about that. Courtney is going to the Olympics.
That is the goal.
Yes, you'll get it, girl. You can do it.
Thank you.
So, but that was the first bag I ever created, and I actually created it because I was in design school. I was a young professional, and I didn't want to look like a little kid with a backpack. And I also, at the time, I was a student, and I couldn't afford, a $4,000 bag like a lot of other design, some design students could actually afford, but I couldn't. So I wanted a bag that was cool and fashionable and looked designer, but had all the functionality that I wanted in an everyday bag that didn't only look great, but actually was functional and practical. So, which you don't usually get from high fashion. So I wanted to bring my high fashion experience and my couture experience, and I've worked with some of the best in the world, and learned from them, which I'm so grateful for because it kind of allowed me to create this platform that fused luxury design and materials with a element of engineering and practicality that really doesn't exist in the luxury world. So that is how the Tamitha backpack was born. It was really something I made for myself that happened to have been seen by Nordstrom and some of the other buyers from different department stores in the United States. And they were like, oh my God, I need that bag. And I was like, well, it's not really for sale. It's just kind of a personal one. And that's really how Aimee started. So, it was really that bag that put us on the map. And since we've had so many other kind of versions of it and families around it, and it was named after my baby sister, Tammy, who's the youngest of the 5 siblings of mine. So, it's been quite a journey.
Well, and can you imagine, I can't, I mean, you can imagine because this happened to you, but I cannot imagine having created something and then have buyers from major department stores saying, oh my goodness, this is really great. I would be like, what I did? What I created?
Well, you want to hear something funny? When QVC walked into my showroom, and when I say showroom, like, we made it look like it was a designer showroom. We were hiding in this tiny little office, 4 of us in the back, making it look like we had all this office space, and it was this giant professional studio, and it was not by any means. It was kind of DIY. Our desks, our computers were like touching like this back to back in the back. But we did what we had to do, and sometimes, that's what you have to do to make it happen. You just have to keep going and throw everything at the wall, give it everything you've got. And QVC walked in that day and placed $1 million order on the spot, and I was not prepared for that. So, as a designer and as an entrepreneur, I was expecting maybe someone to walk in and say, I'd like to try 4 of these bags in my store. So when they came in and they said that, and then to go with it, they told me, and you're going to go live on television and present your collection.
Woo.
And I was like, okay, this is getting more and more interesting by the second.
What was it like?
What
your
does that
first
look
time?
like?
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't even know what QVC was, because I was, how old was I? I was like 24, Australian. I didn't even own a TV. I couldn't afford a TV.
Oh my
goodness. I didn't know what QVC was. So, for me, it was like this opening of this entire new world.
Wow. So what was your first time on QVC? What was it like when you came in and said, all right, I'm going live?
I was so nervous. I thought I was going to throw up, because there was so many people, and they launched me live on a prime show night with so many other celebrities. And what's funny is I think the night I launched, it was the night of a blizzard, like a really bad blizzard. And I was supposed to launch with, a whole lot of, and I'm a new designer, remember, like, people didn't know who I was or anything like that at this time. And I was launching with, I believe, like, it was 50 Cent and Jennifer Hudson and all these other really A-list celebrities.
Oh my goodness.
Who have always been on TV, and, I hadn't had that experience yet. So I was truly an artist that just was an introvert and wanted to be in my little design studio underground, designing beautiful pieces and never seeing anyone. So
and there you were.
It was like a whole new world for me. And because of the blizzard, nobody could get in. So I was one of the very few people that was actually on that show. So I'm like, okay. And then I'm supposed to go like 6 or something. And then they end up saying, hey, Aimee Kestenberg, you're going to go first. I was like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. Really excited about this. So I really just had to pull it out, and I just went on air, and I was just myself. I was so nervous, but I thought to myself, listen, Aimee, I was talking to myself. I'm like, Aimee, you can only be you. Yeah. You don't know how to be anyone else. So just be you. And you know what? If people don't like it, they'll just have to move on. And if they do, great. That's good stuff. So, that's kind of the attitude I had. And I feel like that kind of ties back to the attitude I want everyone to have, which is just, you just got to love yourself so much and be your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah. No, you really do. And I really appreciate you telling the story about QVC coming in and then your first time on air, because I'm just thinking sometimes you've just got to put up as much as you can, like whether make it look as good and as grand as it can possibly look and be, and just be yourself. Put your best foot forward and just go for it.
And people aren't stupid. People know when you're being you and when you're putting something on. And that is something that I really hold close, is I will always only take on things that make me feel comfortable and make me feel like I can be myself. And one of the things I love about QVC is it's the only platform in the world that I can go on live television, and I'm on QVC in various countries, and talk about the pieces that I create and actually tell you at home about why I created it, why it's in that color, why the design is that way, and really share my true design experience and thought process behind each piece I create with you, which is so special to be able to do.
Well, and especially because you particularly with your background, whether from the engineering side of it, the designing, all the way up into this, I want to hear from an expert who actually knows the ins and outs of what I'm buying. Because sometimes you walk into some retail stores and you're just like, this looks good, but you don't know the quality. You don't understand why it was designed. Mm-hmm. You don't know it from Adam. You don't know the difference. And so I think sometimes having the person there that created it and the expert, it just makes purchasing something on QVC so much easier because they kind of take out the guesswork for you.
Yeah, and it's really, there's you really know what you're getting, and it's also, I have people a lot of women that write into me both on my Instagram and on my Facebook that write in, hey, I got one of your bags, Aimee, I love it, but I love it so much more once I realized that there was 10 pockets inside, all in the right places. And, so a lot of the time, like, my pieces are deceiving because people will buy them because they like them for the aesthetic, or they think they're beautiful and they like a certain print or a certain color or a certain zipper. And they'll get it home and be shocked that the piece is actually really practical. Yeah. Because that's just something that I kind of silently sneak into every piece I create, so that there's a whole lot of functionality to everything.
Well, how can we follow you, support the brand? Obviously, we can shop on QVC.com under Aimee Kestenberg, but tell me how we can follow your journey on social or any place like that.
Absolutely. Well, I have Aimee Kestenberg, which is on Instagram and also on Facebook and on Pinterest and Twitter and every other social platform. We pretty much share everything I'm creating across there, as well as I also have a personal account called Just Being Aimee, which is where I share my baby photos, specifically pretty much a baby. But I'm always showing the behind the scenes and sharing our journey. And I would love for everyone else to also, anytime they're sharing or purchasing one of the Aimee Kestenberg products, definitely hashtag Aimee Kestenberg, because we're always checking it. And we love to see how you're wearing your pieces, what you got, and write into me. I love hearing from everybody. And we always respond. So keep in touch.
Oh, perfect. Well, anything else that you want to share with us, maybe sneak peeks or anything coming up or that you're excited about before we sign off today?
Well, I've got a lot in the works. I don't even know where to start. My head's got a lot going on inside, but I'm most excited today about our Unity pin, just given the current situation. I want to share with everyone that, obviously we're in unknown territory, and that can be really scary for a lot of people. But I want to thank all of our frontline workers first and foremost. Without them, we wouldn't be where we are and on the road to recovery. But I also hope that everybody at home is staying strong and knowing that it's okay to feel different emotions and go through different things. And we need to be grateful that if you're not working on the front lines, we need to be grateful that we're able to stay home. And home is our safe place, and not to forget that. There's a lot of people talking about the fact that you're stuck at home. Like, you're not stuck. Yeah. Stuck is not a good word to use right now. You are safe at home. Yeah. And I think it's really important to remember that. And try and find something that you've never had the time or ability to do, and do it. Now's your time. You're never going to get time like this. So, it's true. It's a great time to try and do something new, or even do something to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. Something that you maybe never had the time or energy for. Yeah. So it's also a blessing of time. So for a lot of us. So I feel like we need to kind of look at that for a reason, and remember to take care of nature and Mother Earth. I feel like we're all having that reminder. We've never had bluer skies and greener grass and clearer waters. So, I feel like that's a real reminder that, we need to remember to take care of our Earth and each other. And to each other, because we're all human.
We are, and we can connect in so many ways now. Something like this, you can really keep in touch with people, and always remember that, and continue to remember that even when you're able to see people face to face. I think that's something to take with us, for sure.
For sure.
Man, well, Aimee, thank you so much for joining us. You can shop
Thank
Aimee
you.
Kestenberg on QVC.com. You can see all of her items. But thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Of course. And I am rooting for you for the Olympics. I want to come just with pom-poms and cheer you on.
Well,
I'll design you a killer bag for the Olympics.
You know what? I will circle back with you.
Yes, let's do it.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you so much, everyone else. Much love.
Bye.
Bye.